Hey everyone, so it is about 7:30 at night and I am out here in the garden about to do battle with some budworms over these petunias. So if you don't know, budworms are moth caterpillars and they especially love petunias and geraniums, which are two of the most common flowers I have up here in my garden. I first noticed a moth, I think about a week and a half ago, flying around, and I knew from then on I would probably need to keep an eye out for eggs. So I've been doing that, but really in the last couple days I started noticing the holes on the flowers of the petunia and the leaves, which are a pretty good sign that you have budworms. And then starting yesterday I also started seeing the budworms and removing them. So what I'm going to do is kind of take you through the process of how I'm trying to handle this situation. Hopefully I come out of here with some intact petunias. What I've done so far, so I've been using Captain Jack's dead bug, and this is what I started using just as a preventative measure, spraying the tops and the bottoms of the leaves and the flowers. I've been doing this really ever since I planted the petunias, again trying to prevent the spread of budworms in the first place. Obviously it hasn't worked, so I'm not sure if I either wasn't applying enough or I just happened to miss the spots where the eggs were laid, but I have been continuing to use this as I've seen the budworms and hoping it'll take effect. I think the last time though I used this was about a little over a week ago. What I tried yesterday was this, which is, what is the brand? Garden Safe Houseplant and Garden Insect Killer. I just tried this for the first time yesterday. I didn't do a test spot like you're supposed to, and when I came out the next morning, a bunch of my petunia blooms were white. And since I just noticed it after using the spray, I'm assuming that's what it's related to. So I'm going to forgo this spray. I'm not going to spray anything else on them right now since I just sprayed last night, but what I'm going to go through is go and look at signs of budworms, try to find any budworms and remove them, also see if I can see any eggs and remove those as well. The reason I'm doing it now is that they tend to come out in the evenings, so usually a little bit closer to dusk. I don't want to be out here at night though with a flashlight, so I found the majority of the ones I saw yesterday around this time, so I'm just going to do the same thing again and take you along with me so that you can see that gardening isn't always just fun and happy. Sometimes we have to deal with the more annoying parts of it. So let's go take a look at this petunia plant. Okay, so I have my gloves because I don't know about you, but I don't like bugs, which you would think after a few years of gardening you'd get a little bit more used to that. I haven't, but when I have my gloves on, I feel like it kind of gives me superpowers, and I no longer care if I touch any of the bugs. Because if I see one of the budworms, I'm gonna pick it off and I'm gonna throw it in a bucket of soapy water. What I also have are my shears. I am going to go around and remove some of the more damaged blooms, any damaged leaves. If I see any leaves with a lot of eggs on them, I'm either gonna rub them with my fingers or cut off the leaf if I feel like that would do a little bit better job of just preventing the spread of the budworms. So I'm gonna zoom you in really close and kind of take you around with me as I go through this process. Oh, warning, you're gonna see a lot of caterpillar poop. So actually, before we do a close-up of the petunia, I kind of want to give you an overall look at what's going on in the garden, where I found the budworms, what's been impacted the most. So I actually first noticed them in this bed when I saw the holes being chewed out of the flowers, but I still also have a lot of blooms on these flowers. I think it's just because they were so big in the first place that luckily they haven't gotten through all of them yet. I haven't seen a ton of issues yet with the super bells. There is some damage from the spray that I mentioned where they're a little bit white now around the flowers, and I'm now just seeing a few that have holes in them, but they really haven't been bothered up until this point. I don't know if some of them have moved on from the super petunias as I've kind of picked off the ones that were there and they've realized this is safer. Ooh, and actually, as I just said that, let's zoom in here. There is a very teeny tiny budworm right there. So since this one is in a damaged bloom, I'm just gonna go in and instead of just picking off the worm itself, I'm gonna take the entire bloom. So back to the tour. Sorry for the little detour there. But all of these petunias, like I mentioned, have been impacted. I also have 2 pots of geraniums. This one, so far, I haven't noticed any budworms, no holes in the petals or the leaves. But the other one over here, which I've kind of been moving stuff around that I know I need to keep an eye on, this I did find some in the flowers, so I removed that. This geranium as well, I found some. And then we have this geranium here also that I found some budworms in. So those are the 4 geraniums I have. Coming over here, you can see there's not many buds left on these petunias. So these were kind of so damaged that the majority of the buds I just went ahead and removed. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm still obviously looking for budworms over here, but I'm hoping that they'll flush back. If they don't though, I don't have any problem removing them. I mean, I'll be a little bit sad, but one, you can't beat Mother Nature, and also the melons here are so big that I think once I remove the petunias, they'll quickly fill up this space anyway. Alright, so we're back over at this main bed, and kind of what I'll do is just do like a bird's eye view, seeing if I notice any of the budworms right off the top. Where I've noticed the most of them is at the ends of the stems here, and I'm also out here looking for caterpillar poop, because that's a sign that one is nearby. So, I don't know if you can see, let's get in here, these little black dots, but that is the caterpillar poop. So if you see that, it's a good sign there's one nearby, typically somewhere above where you see the poop. Now this one I saw yesterday, I think I found one up here that's been removed, so that's part of the fun too, trying to remember what is the old poop that you've already been tracking and which poop is new. I never knew that I would be spending this much time doing it, but I mean, I will do anything to try and save the petunias, because these really are one of my favorite annuals to have in the garden. Now for buds that are damaged but I don't necessarily see any of the worms on, I'll just go in and pluck those off, and I'm just throwing them down here in a basket, and I'm going to throw these away. So I'm going to do that as well, look for budworms, but then also try to remove just any of the more damaged flowers and leaves that I see. Look what we've got here. Another one. So something interesting too that I did not know before and just recently learned is, so if they're the brown color like these, it means that they're a little bit younger, but the budworms that you find on your petunias can tend to be a bit more green to blend in with the leaves, whereas the ones you find on geraniums can be a bit more red to blend in, I guess, with the blooms. I read that somewhere. Am I making it up completely? I don't think so, but I have noticed different colors on the plants depending on which one I'm looking for. So let's just grab this little guy. Sorry, bud, but you cannot live here. Oh, okay. So this one is holding on tight, so I'm just gonna snip this off, which I don't know if I can do with this in my hand, so let's put you there. And I'm just gonna come in, this bloom is pretty much damaged anyway, and snip that off. I wanted to show you a good example of following the poop trail. So I noticed that there was a lot of poop right around this area, and if you come up here, there is one budworm, and then there's actually another right behind it. So that's a good telltale sign that one is nearby. So I'm gonna go remove these now. Okay, so I've been out here for about an hour. I turned on some 60s music, checked around all of the petunias, also did some other checks for pests like aphids that I've seen on some of my other plants. I think I found about 10 actual budworms that I saw. I think I saw a few eggs that I smushed, and I'm sure I'll find some more tomorrow. My husband's actually picking up some Thuricide, I think it's called, which is what one of the local garden centers recommended. Again, because I just applied a spray yesterday, I'm gonna wait a little bit and just continue with the manual removal for now, and then probably apply that beginning of next week. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. And I will see you in the next video, which hopefully has absolutely no budworms in it. Bye. Just a little bit of evening here in the garden. She might be infested, but she's still pretty.